A retired teacher sent me this message about the virtues of beating children. This was my response. I thought back to that day in primary school in South Trinidad when my classmate angered our teacher. Not with any bad behavior, but simply for not being able to understand what was being taught. Instead of using a different teaching strategy or adapting the material, this man who used to smoke cigarettes while teaching us grabbed a big stick and beat this small boy across his arm over and over again until we all saw blood seeping through his blue school shirt. The boy couldn't do anything, of course, and neither could we, because we had no power in that situation. We sat there and watched the brutality, and I think we all understood instinctually that it was not right. However, I'm sure many of us children, like the teachers who inflicted these things on us, grew up to believe that it was for our own good. I'm sorry, but I will never believe that. And it's not because my training is in sociology and psychology and that the evidence is very clear about the harm caused by assaulting a child and the ineffectiveness of it as a teaching method. I could go into the specifics of all of that, but that's not what this is about. What I believe is not necessarily about what them people studies say. I try instead to look at what really works for us as a people, what ruptures were caused by the process of colonization, what was lost and what we did to survive, which might no longer serve us now and might actually be hurting us, including the most vulnerable among us. I didn't have to get any kind of Western education to know what I know in my soul. I already knew it as a child watching an act of injustice long before I ever understood why. Here's something else I remember though. The day after that little boy was beaten bloody, his father showed up at our school in the middle of a lesson. A poor man wearing humble clothes, dusty from a day of cutting cane, cutlass hanging at his side. And he stood in front of this educated teacher and told him to never lay hands on his son again. And I guess what I learned from that, reflecting on it now, is that powerless people enact violence on those with even less power. And children are at the bottom of that hierarchy. And I'm not trying to say that violence is never the answer. I'm not naive. But I think what it is that the potential for violence, the cutlass hanging from the belt, is maybe the only thing that stops bullies with power from committing injustice.